And hello again from Fox News in Washington. The Congressional Budget Office, Washington's nonpartisan scorekeeper, dealt a big blow to the president's health care law this week. A CBO report said ObamaCare subsidies create incentives for millions of Americans to work fewer hours or not to work at all. Here to discuss that, immigration reform, and more are two Senate leaders. Roy Blunt, vice chairman of the Senate Republican Conference, joins us from Missouri. And from Maryland, Ben Cardin, a member of the Senate Finance Committee. Well, the CBO says over the next decade, senators, that there will be 2.5 million fewer workers working full-time because of Obamacare. Here is the CBO director, Doug Elmendorf.
By providing heavily subsidized health insurance to people with very low income, and then withdrawing those subsidies as income rises, the act creates a disincentive for people to work relative to what would have been the case in the absence of that act.
Now, Republicans say this proves that Obamacare is a job killer. Democrats say it means that fewer people will be locked into jobs. Senator Blunt, what's wrong with that, the idea of fewer people locked into jobs?
Well, I think any law you pass that discourages people from working can't be a good idea. Why would we want to do that? Why would we think that was a good thing? How does that allow people to prepare for the time when they don't work? This number is about 3 times as big as the number that was on the table when people that voted for the president's health care bill voted for it in 2009 and 10, when the estimate then was that it would cost about the equivalent of about 800,000 full-time jobs. Now they're saying 2.3 million. And the best face you could probably put on that is, well, that means people that don't want to work don't have to work. Surely that's really not what we want to encourage, and that's what this law does encourage. And I think also it's clear that employers themselves are going to more part-time work that doesn't require benefits, that puts people on the exchange. In almost every case, the numbers that we're now looking at, whether it's the cost of insurance, the people that are uninsured, or the people that just simply aren't working full-time, is a bigger number and a harder to deal with number than anybody who voted for this law thought it would be. I didn't vote for it. I don't think it has the capacity to work, but all the numbers as they come out exceed the bad news that had been anticipated.
Let me bring in Senator Cardin. Choice on an individual level, if you're 63 years old, you don't qualify for Medicare, and you've been working just to keep your health insurance, choice on an individual basis makes some sense. But Senator Cardin, do we as a government want to have a policy that gives people a disincentive to work and then makes all of us taxpayers pay for that?
Well, a significant number of these people are in what we call job locked. They're in their employment solely because that's their only option to get health benefits. Now individuals have other options. This is a voluntary choice, as you pointed out, whether you want to work or not. And it shouldn't be because you're locked into a job because of health benefits. Let me also point out
but again, Senator Cardin, if I may, though, I understand if somebody doesn't want to work and they can get their health benefits, and in fact they'll get them cheaper because the subsidy rises as their income lowers, that's fine. But why do I, or you as a taxpayer, why do we have to subsidize that?
Well, in some cases, these people might have 2 jobs right now because of the circumstances for their health benefits. One of those jobs are no longer going to work. People do work 2 full-time jobs today in order to be able to get their health benefits. Now they don't need to work 2 full-time jobs to get their health benefits. And the point I want to raise is that these jobs will be filled. It's not going to have an impact on our economy. We have people waiting to work. So these jobs will all be filled. Our economy will move forward. The bottom line is that now everyone will have access to affordable health care before they didn't.
Well, you say that these jobs will be filled. That assumes a booming economy, which we don't have. Even beyond the subsidies, there are indications that Obamacare is cutting jobs, and this is a year before the employer mandate even kicks in. Let me put up a recent study which found that more than 400 employers have cut workers' hours to avoid the mandate. If they work less than 30 hours, they're part-time, and therefore they don't have to have health insurance. Senator Cardin, isn't that a further drag on an economy, especially at a time, and as we saw from the latest job report in January, when we have a weak recovery?
Well, let's see what happens when this law is fully implemented. What we are going to see, we think, is that, first of all, costs are much less than we had predicted them to be. So it's actually costing us less. Healthcare costs have been driven down. There's now more health facilities available in our community. People are using emergency rooms less. All that's going to be positive on our economy. The big news on the Affordable Care Act is to change the way we deliver health care to keep people healthier. And we're going to see, with more people having options to get their health care needs met, there's going to be less expensive care and more care given in the community and keeping people healthier. That's our goal. Our goal is to make sure everyone has access to affordable health care.
Senator Blunt, you can, I'd like you to speak to that, but I'd also like you to speak to another issue, because Republicans keep talking about wanting to ban a government bailout of insurance companies. But the CBO, in the same report that you cited, says that, in fact, over the next decade, that the government will collect $8 billion more from insurance companies that will have to give out. There won't be any bailout. In fact, there'll be a surplus.
Well, there's a lot of facts and figures flying around here. I'm not sure I can address all of them. I will say there was a report out this weekend on the argument that somehow healthcare costs are going down. Insurance costs aren't going down. There's a report out, a small business report, where small businesses since 2009 have seen their insurance costs go from about $500 an employee to about $590 an employee to a little over $1,100 an employee. And many of them are deciding not to offer insurance anymore. And on the idea that somehow people are going to have these jobs, the report actually said the American workforce is going to work 2.3 million jobs less collectively. So these jobs are not going to be there. People are going to part-time work. And on the bailout for insurance companies, if we collect a lot more money, that means that all of these policies that employers pay on that have, among other things, the $63 charge for every single employee you insure, the federal government collects that. Now, how is that a helpful thing for the economy, to basically put a $63 tax on people that are insured through their union or people that are insured through their workplace, and somehow we're bragging about that we're going to collect a lot more money in that special new tax than is going to go out. And frankly, Chris, nobody knows how much money is going to go out yet. We'll see how the balance of young, healthy workers and not so healthy people, or young, healthy people to be insured, and not so healthy people work out for insurance companies. But at this point,
can I point out,
gentlemen, we're getting a little bit in the weeds, and I want to get to another big subject. So let me please do that. Last week, Republicans issued a statement of principles, House Republicans, that seemed to indicate that they were all in on immigration reform. But this week, Speaker Boehner said that because they don't trust the president to enforce all parts of immigration reform, that there's a good chance that nothing will be passed this year. Senator Cardin, how do you react to that statement about the GOP change of mind? Do you think it's because Republicans have decided now that they don't trust the president? And I guess more importantly, what are the chances for immigration reform this year?
Well, I think the House Republicans is very disappointing. Our immigration system is broken. I think Americans understand that. We need to respond to it. We know that we have problems as far as making sure our borders are secure, as well as making sure that we have an immigration policy that speaks to the values of America, that will help in job growth in this country and make sense for this country.
So how do you explain the Republican flip?
I can't. I don't understand it. I don't understand. I think that there's so much infighting in the Republican Party in the House that they're just concerned that they'll show that fracturing of the party, and therefore the immigration bill is one of the casualties. We hope, though, that the politics of this, which I think is equivalent to the policy here to move forward, that the Republicans will allow a bill to move forward, that we can get into conference, that we can work out a bill, and at least move this issue forward.
Let me bring in Senator Blunt. I think it's fair to say that President Obama's trustworthiness, or lack of same, didn't really change dramatically in the last week. I mean, isn't the real issue here that Republicans in the House and in the Senate are deeply divided on immigration reform, and they didn't want to expose that division in the middle of an election year?
Well, I think the House reluctance has a lot of things that drive it, and one is the president's constant talking about how he can use his pen and his telephone, how the president thinks that helps in any negotiation with Congress to do anything but lead the Congress to believe if you don't like what has happened as part of the negotiation and there's any way at all you can work your way around it or even declare you're going to work your way around it, you will. You know, I didn't vote for the Senate immigration bill because I didn't think it secured the border adequately and didn't address the workplace border, the place you really could make a difference in people who are here without documents in the best possible way at all. What the House has said is, let's divide these problems up. Let's solve them one at a time. And as a person who, for a lot of the time I was in the Congress, I was the whip in the House, the vote counter in the House, I've always thought that you'd get a better solution to the three components of this problem if you let one of them be, let's secure the border at both the workplace and the border. Let's determine the real workforce needs of the country, and let's decide what to do with people who came here or stayed illegally. About half came illegally, and about half came legally and then just stayed. Those are three very different questions. The House would like to deal with them one at a time. The Senate says no, one big bill or no bill at all, and that's a pretty hard thing to resolve, particularly when the president's saying, if I don't like something and I can take care of it with my pen, I'm going to take care of it by signing an executive order.
Gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it there. Senator Blunt, Senator Cardin, thank you both so much for joining us today. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's good to be with you.